Welcome back. Well, ministers will meet this morning to consider how to clear the names of hundreds of post office branch managers who were wrongly convicted of fraud. Well, one of those leading the calls to make sure that the right people are held responsible is the Conservative MP, David Davis. He joins me in the studio now. The Prime Minister says he's considering exonerating all victims of the post office scandal. It's going to be a tricky thing to get through legally.
Yes.
Do you confident it could happen?
Oh, I think it can be done, and I think it will get done.
How quickly, though?
Well, it's got to be months, not years, put it that way. I mean, at the moment, if we carry on at the current pace, it'll be years, because we've got, 10% of them cleared so far? And one of the reasons for that is because the authorities have challenged every appeal. Well, what are they doing, So that's the first thing, to stop that process. But I think, there is a single fact that underpins every single case, and that is that the Post Office lied about who had access to those accounts, who had access to those computers. That fact makes every single conviction, well, technically unsafe, just wrong, And I think we can use that fact to turn them all over. That's what we should be doing.
Why has it taken so long to get to this point, do you think?
Well, I mean, you've got the problem of the exoneration, you've got the problem on compensation and so on. And this is because the bodies involved are still resisting. I mean, the Post Office is still, although it says publicly it accepts there's been a massive injustice, in the way it behaves, employs expensive lawyers to challenge all the compensation claims. As I say, I think it's the Post Office authorities who are actually challenging the cases when they come to appeal. We've got to stop that. The state, the government, is the single shareholder for the Post Office, and we should be giving them a very simple instruction, start behaving properly.
The managers responsible for this, do you know who they are, and do you think they should be prosecuted?
Well, I've got a good idea, but I don't want to replace one injustice with another one. I think there should be a proper investigation, a criminal investigation, and it should encompass the behaviour of the Post Office and of Fujitsu, and see who lied. Basically, that's what it comes down to. It's simply who lied, who made the decisions to say, for example, that there was no access to the Post Office computers, individual Post Office computers. Who made that decision? Somebody must have done. They represented that case in court, as it were, as well. So once we identify who lied, not who made a mistake, but who lied, those are the people who should face criminal charges.
What about Paula Bennells? Of course, she was the chief executive of the Post Office 2012 to 2019. A petition calling for her to be stripped of her CV has now reached over 1 million signatures. Do you think she should face personal sanctions?
Well, again, the investigation's got to do that. And look, if I were her, I'd have given up my CBE. I would have given it back, But if that's going to happen, it's got to be a proper process. As I say, don't replace one injustice with another one. I think the odds are she'll lose it. The Forfeiture Committee will no doubt look at it at some point. There's a special committee to look at these things, and they know what to look at. Whether or not she misrepresented, whether or not she allowed miscarriages to go on. So that will happen, I'm pretty sure, but it's got to be done properly.
What changes would you like to see at the Post Office generally?
Well, for a start, we should take away from them the right to police themselves. You shouldn't be in the business of marking your own homework, even if you're a state body. I think, because they're a state body, they were given their own police force. And we can see from what's happened, we can see from that docudrama, precisely how badly that worked. That ended up oppressing people, of convicting them of things they never did. So that's got to go. That's got to go straight away. Beyond that, in more immediate terms, we've got to get them exonerated. And we've got to get the compensation programme accelerated, because at the moment it's being bogged down by the Post Office itself. So all of those things got to be done, and then we'll get a glimmer of justice at the end of this.
Are there any other public bodies, like the Post Office, that have the capabilities to carry out these private prosecutions?
There are some others. I don't have the list in my mind at the moment, but there are some others. But
should questions be raised about all of those also?
Yes, indeed. Exactly right. I think, at some point we're going to have to do some legislation to change that, because, we're going to have to take the police force, as it were, away from the Post Office and put it somewhere else, the Met or some other police agency, probably. And when we do that, we should go down the list. One of the problems here, which this characterises, I'm afraid, is that not just big state bodies, but big bureaucracies are very, very bad at handling issues of justice. We saw it as well with the tainted blood scandal, how long that took to get resolved. We've seen it with things like the Chinook crash, where it took the RAF fought off for 10 years attempts to exonerate the pilots. This is a generic problem, and we've got to find a better way of dealing with it.
David Davis, Conservative MP. Good to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.